Hello and welcome back to In God We Trust podcast. We are continuing our little thing here. If you guys are watching through YouTube and you see me wearing the same sweatshirt this whole time, it's because I record these on Sunday because, throughout the week, things just happen. You guys know how it goes. Life just gets crazy. So I'm recording this on Sunday, all of these, and it's just going to be way easier. That way I'll have more free time to try to reach out to people and actually grow this, because when I just make videos, it's pretty hard for me to go find ways for it to grow, you know? You guys know what I'm talking about. Okay, well, today we are reading The Death and Sacrifice of Jesus. Jesus Changed the World, and possibly another one. So I hope you guys stick to the end and you enjoy this. Okay, let's get right into it. Okay, so the death and sacrifice of Jesus. By all accounts, Yeshua did not fight for his life or even speak to defend legally, though he had the grounds to do so. When the authorities came to take him away, he could have reminded them that they had no authority beyond the temple grounds. Yeshua could have reminded them that according to the Jewish law, they had no right to take him into custody without an indictment. If Judas, the disciple who betrayed Jesus to the Roman authorities, had been his accuser, Yeshua could have impugned the integrity of Judas as a witness by showing that Judas was a thief who had been stealing from the treasury. Okay, that's really true. I've never thought about that. He could have answered false accusations with the obvious truth. Okay, so that's awesome right there to hear. So Jesus, first of all, when he was getting arrested, beaten, tortured, and killed, he said nothing at all. But before that, man, he was saying some stuff. So when the time came for that to happen, he knew it had to happen, and he let it happen. And the thing about Judas was very true. He could have ratted out Judas and said that Judas was a thief who had been stealing from the treasury. And that is something that he could have done, but he didn't because he's a nice guy. So he's a really nice guy. So, and he also could have answered the false accusations with the obvious truth. So, yeah. Okay. He knew he was destined to rule, but he also knew he was destined to die first. When the governor asked Jesus if he was the King of the Jews, he said, "You have said so." Matthew chapter 27, verse 11. Just as a sheep who is brought to slaughter does not complain, so Yeshua did not open his mouth to utter one word of protest. He knew he was destined to rule, but he also knew he was destined to die first. No one ever died like Yeshua died, and no one ever accomplished so much with his death. His death was not the end, but the beginning. That is very powerful. I like that little thing about how just as a sheep who is brought to the slaughter does not complain, that is the same thing that Jesus did. He knew it had to happen, and that was not the end, but it was the beginning. Okay, Jesus changed the world. Most of us live by a calendar that measures time in the number of years. Before Yeshua walked on the earth, the number of years since. This in itself is evidence of his profound impact on our world. Entire libraries could be filled with books written about him. He inspired such musical masterpieces as Handel's Messiah centuries after he walked on the earth. Great masters, such as Michelangelo and Botticelli, sought to glorify Yeshua in works of art that can be found in the most renowned museums and galleries on this globe. Because of Jesus, people in remote jungles, as well as in the highest halls of learning, know that something about the Jewish people and our teachings. They are even often familiar with the geography of the Jewish homeland, especially Bethlehem and Jerusalem. From Augustine to Alder to Einstein, the greatest philosophers and scientists alike had to grapple with his teaching and ponder his person. And those philosophers who lived before he came spoke of ethics and aesthetics which Yeshua's life embodied. Grace and forgiveness flowed from him, and yet his righteousness was not compromised. Eastern religions taught that people who suffered pain, disease, and untimely death were being justly punished for dishonorable behavior in a previous life, whereas Eastern religions accepted suffering as karma to be repeated over and over in a lifetime after lifetime. Yeshua taught compassion for the suffering, grace and forgiveness flowed from him, and yet his righteousness was not compromised. That is why people loved him and still love him. And even if they don't love him, it does not negate his overachieving presence over history. Wow, that's a lot right there. Okay, so overall, people would speak of Jesus and they would either accept him or they would question him, and they would see his teachings and they would understand like there's truth in his teachings, and everything he said was truth. Like it's not like he was like saying like dumb things. Like me, like I say a lot of dumb things, you know? But Jesus, he was all truth, you know? He wasn't messing around, and that is why his history is so insane, you know? He literally changed the world, like the timing period, like BC and after Christ. Like, even if you don't accept Jesus as a real person or anything, you can't deny like his reputation and impact on the world, just like it said, like with our timing, like years and dating years. So even if you don't accept him, you can't deny that at all. Okay, here we go. We're going to continue. The scepter of Christianity. Not all who said that they were Christians behaved according to Yeshua's example. He taught love, humility, and the dignity of people. When you find hatred, prejudice, and intolerance in the name of Jesus, you find failure to follow the ones whose name is being used. Any Christians who show lack of compassion are ignoring even and countermanding the example of Jesus. It's all too easy to shift blame to Jesus for persecution, which he never taught or tolerated. Human beings are quite capable of persecuting one another, not because of Jesus, but in spite of him. People who truly are Jesus' disciples should show discipline in following his teachings. Okay, so that was great to hear. So that is very true, though. And when I think of that, I think of when it's James said that the tongue is restless evil, because me personally, I will proclaim Jesus and praise God, but with my same tongue, I'm putting down others, and yeah, I'm not always saying the best things. Yeah, I know, but it happens. Okay. So, but I'm working on it. God can help you with that. You just have to ask him, and that's how it goes. Okay, so I'll just read this last little bit. This is the last one in this website for Jesus's character profile. So here we go. Jesus' continued impact. But there's also a continued good impact in Yeshua's name. Hospitals were established out of being Christian compassion. Missionaries brought schools and literacy to faraway places because of Jesus. Medical and agricultural professionals traveled far to give their service because of the love of Yeshua. People like Martin Niemöller, Raoul Wallenberg, and Corrie ten Boom stood up to Hitler and the hatred that spewed out of because of the love they found in Yeshua. Well, that's great to hear. That's great. So, his life after the crucifixion has made Jesus the most powerful and influential person who ever lived. I agree with that. Okay. If Jesus had merely lived and died, the world would not have been forever altered by his coming. But his resurrection puts Jesus on the scene of every episode of history. His observable life after the crucifixion has made Jesus the most powerful and influential person who ever lived. Because he still lives, and the fact that he still lives and desires to change people's lives is wonderful to those who want what he offers, and an offense to those who do not. When Jesus walked on earth, some of the rabbis and leaders and leadership of the day did follow him. But it took tremendous courage for them to go against the tide. Some of the wealthier people who had position and the power were able to see past their riches to the spiritual poverty that Jesus came to alleviate. Today, many describe believers in Jesus as weak, looking for a quick fix to their problems. Some view Jesus as a crutch and see no need for him. To such people, it is irrelevant as to whether or not Jesus is who he says he is. To consider him is to agree to associate with the kind of needy people he attracts that they do not wish to do. But Jesus is patient and loving, as he ever was. He does not restrict the grace to those who are well educated and highly employable. He does not reserve mercy for the politically correct and well-connected. He is interested in giving hope to the oppressed and the oppressors, to the have and have-nots alike. Yet still he's unseen, unknown, and unheard, except by those who have an ear to hear and a heart to understand. This content was adapted from an earlier Jews for Jesus article. Okay, well, that was great. That was awesome. And I hope you guys enjoyed all that stuff. That is jewsforjesus.org. You guys can look up any of that stuff. That was Jesus' profile, the little header there. So that was great. We're going to get into other stuff also next week. So have a nice day. God bless. Spread the love. Jesus is the Messiah. All right, ciao.